And a very good evening again to everyone, and welcome to our webinar that has been specially catered to all of you, our distinguished guests. So, our topic for today is learning about the vicinity with long term growth potential in 2021 using trends, facts, and data to our advantage. If you have any questions, you can always post in the Q&A, and we have our expert panelists to answer them for you live. So now, do allow me to introduce to you our speaker for today, Mr. Alvin Khoo, Senior Associate District Director of Orange Tea and Thai. He has consistently been the top producer for his years of service, and he also excels his role as a project IC, of which his success includes Daintree Residence and Twinville. And his latest addition to his portfolio is being a first-time father. So congratulations on that to you, Alvin.
Thank you.
So and and now, without further ado, over to you, Alvin.
Hi, everyone. Hold on, just give me 1 minute. Okay, hi, everyone. So it's been a while since I spoke to you guys. I'm Alvin, and for today, I'll be sharing with all of you some of my point of views on how to use trends, facts, and data to our advantage. And I will also be using one vicinity as an example on how I deduce that this vicinity may have a high chance for a long-term growth potential. Okay, so to recap, I actually did a consumer seminar last year during the circuit breaker period. It's talking about property hotspot after circuit breaker is lifted. And I actually used this beauty world area for my case study. And just to recap, uh, when we were talking about this beauty world vicinity, we actually dissected the location bit by bit and to decipher whether this area have the potential to become a property hotspot. So if you want to watch that seminar, you can check with your Orange Tea's salesperson to get the link for the video. Okay, so how have this beauty world vicinity grow since the seminar? Over here, what you see is the transaction trend based on average PSF in beauty world vicinity since the Q4 of 2018. And we had our seminar during the circuit breaker period, which is Q2 of 2020. And actually, since then, right, we can see a significant increase in the average PSF. Okay. And also, we can observe a very, very significant rise in the transaction volume, which has never really happened in that area before. So I guess with all this area did really become a property hotspot, after the circuit breaker. And so based on what we have witnessed in Beauty World area, with the fundamentals and ample research of market trends, we can try to deduce the potential in an area. And it seems that what I've shared for this Beauty World area previously did hold some truth. And based on the consumer sentiments and the transaction volume of this area, it did become a very hot area for investors and homestayers alike. So, since my last seminar till now, let's try to understand the current buyer sentiments in 2021. Okay, this is an article that was published by HProp based on a property ownership aspiration survey. So this is done jointly between HProp and NUS Institute of Real Estate and Urban Studies. So let's just do a brief run through of the article and see what the article mentioned to try and understand the current potential consumers' sentiments. Okay, the proportion, right, of respondents looking to buy a home actually have increased from 34.4% the previous year to 53% this year. So home buying interests have increased, right, despite the uncertain economic outlook in 2021 due to the COVID pandemic. And in the survey done last year, 43% of the respondents actually expected home price to decline. While in the survey that is done this year, okay, we see that only 36.4% of the respondents expected home prices to weaken. So what this means is that there is lesser consumer, they are expecting a price decline in the real estate market. And furthermore, the survey also shows that investment was a main motivation of for 45% of the respondents, out of which 64% were buying in anticipation for further capital gain or rental income. Okay, and 2 out of 3 of who express an intention to purchase a new home this year have no plans to sell an existing residential property within the next 12 months. You see, over here they say that a significant proportion of these would-be buyers are looking for an investment property as they are likely to keep their existing dwelling. So this actually further suggests that a significant proportion of these buyers are looking for an investment property. And what it also means is most probably they will be ready, more prepared and ready to pay ABSD, as we know that if you own one property, the second property, even for Singapore citizen, there is a additional buyer stamp duty. So with this in mind, right, I believe that buyers will be more cautious and we want to do more research to ensure that the property that they buy will be able to help them not only on the growth of wealth, but to recover the ABSD that they have paid. And next, when we see what we see here is actually the chart on consumer optimism in Singapore economy. So over here, you see that there are more consumers who are more optimistic about Singapore economy. The bigger the number, the more optimism there is. So this in turn translate to investor having more confidence in a Singapore private property market. So first, more respondents are expecting an increase in price in the next 12 months at the end of 2020 as compared to 2019. And for 2020 to 2021, this period, close to 64% of all the respondents are expecting price to remain stable or increase. So this means to say also that there will most probably be more ready buyers this year in the market, as they'll be worried that the price will increase further, or they feel that the price won't be declining further and it's more or less the time to enter the market. Oh, okay. Okay, and over here, right, there are 2 charts that show the potential buyers age group and then the household income. Okay, the age group and the household income. And as you can see, right, main bulk of the purchasers are aged between 35 to 55 years old. Okay, also the median income is in the range of 5K to 16K region, and the average will be looking, I believe, around 8,000 to 12K. Okay, so most of these respondents are actually holding managerial and professional occupation in sectors such as finance, business services, and information technology. So this means to say also that, right, these potential buyers are people with stable income and are not really affected by the pandemic, and also potentially more cash rich and buying a second property, so they are willing to pay the ABSD also. And if we take a look at these 2 charts again, right, what do they relate? What does these 2 charts actually mean? So from the numbers, right, you can see that based on the above data, we can have an estimation on the potential buying power of the consumer, and we can have a rough gauge of the price range of private properties that they can afford or they will be willing to buy. For example, let's take into consideration the following. If they're buying a first property, there's no car loan and pay based on the current total debt servicing ratio. If they are in the age of 35 years old with an income of between 8 to 16K, this is the amount of the price that they will be able to afford to. Okay, and if they are at the age of 40 years old with this income, okay, this is the price of property that they are able to afford to. And for the age of 45, this is the amount. So from the numbers, right, my take is that the sweet spot for purchasing affordability will be roughly in the $1 to $2 million region, depending on the unit type. Next, in the last part of this article, right, they actually mentioned the followings. There are actually fewer owners looking to sell their homes in the resale market. Okay, And a lot of the sellers are not selling due to a longer investment horizon and also low offer price. So they believe that the price will continue to increase. Next, the pool of secondary market may shrink, and the demand may likely swing to developer new launch. So with that, it could also become that developers, once they sell to a certain the percentage of their stocks, right, there's a higher chance for them to increase their price further. And based on the responses, they also anticipated that there's a potentially higher resale stock in the central, northeast, and east region. And it is possible that sellers are encouraged by the buyer's demand in the area. Lastly, buyer optimism in economy recovery and strong confidence in long-term capital returns of the real estate market. So buyers right now, not only are they confident about the economy, they also looking at investment at a much longer term, whereby that they can actually potentially garner more capital appreciation in a longer future, and also to receive rental at the same time. Last, as the stock of private home in the resale market is likely to contract in the next 12 months, right? There's a high chance that the prices will likely increase. So, in summary, what do I understand from this survey? Okay, firstly, consumers are more optimistic of the market outlook in 2021 as compared to the previous year. They are more ready also to buy a property this year as compared to last year. So, with that in mind, sales volume will likely maintain the current status or increase further. And the pool of resale homes may shrink, and there may be a chance that these buyers will be moving towards these developer new launches. And Central East and Northeast may be expecting potentially more resale units for sale as the demand picks up, which will translate to a surge in the price in the near future. So, consumer sweet spot for affordability, based on what I mentioned just now, was likely between 1 to 1.1 million to 2 million region, depending on the unit types, meaning like 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, or 4 bedroom. And more consumers actually believe prices will maintain or increase rather than falling. So with this, right, I will have a better picture of the current market sentiments. And usually my research and my homework is based on this type of current consumer trend in mind. With this, it will be easier for me to explain to my clients also, and to give them a better judgment on their purchases. So consumer all wish to buy undervalued property. And many of us have this tendency to read the news and listen to other people's opinions to make our own judgment. However, I realize sometimes by the time this undervalued area is discovered by the public or mentioned in the news, the prices of this area may have already been hyped up due to the herd mentality based on superficial info. So what do I mean by this superficial info? Okay, perception versus reality. Let me share with you this article that was written a year ago during the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. So it talks about the Diamond Princess massive COVID-19 outbreak on board the cruise. So when we talk about travel industry related stocks at that point of time, I believe general perception from the public that are less savvy in the stocks and trading, including me, may think that it's too volatile and pessimistic. So this type of stock, maybe let's not touch it. Uh, I don't think that this in the travel industry will recover so soon. So people shun away from cruises, and they cruises are also banned due to this fear of further outbreak. And what does this lead to? So after this article on this Diamond Princess, the news is out in globally, right? The common perception is to exit the stock market, especially like this type of stocks. So by end March, right, Carnival Corporation stocks, which is the owner of Diamond Princess, saw its stocks nosedive from 51.90 in January 12th to the lowest point of 849 US dollar on March 29th. And most people are wary about the future of the cruise sector. So let me ask you, how many people would have dared to buy this particular stock at this point of time? Because at that point of time, you don't even know if it is worth $8 or not. And if you don't really understand how the supply and demand works and how all these stocks works, I believe a lot of people, especially the layman, we will rather not touch all these stocks. However, if the stocks actually recover and increase in the past 1 year, and those investors that really research on this stock to understand the cause and effect and maybe make a calculated risk based on their own research, will have rewards with the stocks triple in price. From 8 plus 1 year ago, now it's 26.69 during 8th of March. So can the same be related to this real estate investment? I will say in a way, yes. Okay, why? All home buyers and investors hope to get the first mover advantage to maximize the chance for profits. Like you right now, if you take a look at just now the stock, you say, wow, if I bought at $8, right? Now I will have triple the money that I put in. And with that, what's the problem? How many of us is possible to be in front of the herd? Okay, what do I mean by in front of the herd? So it means to say that to be in front of the public, and identify the potential of a specific location or development before the rest of the public even know, so that you can still enter at a relatively lower price. Meaning somewhere like, for example, this is just now the trend I show on Beauty World area. That means buying at somewhere in the lower price and not enter only after price increase, because wow, everyone has been saying wow, this area have a lot of potential. Because when all these are already so-called hype up already, you see the demand goes up, price also increase, and you will have actually lost your first mover advantage. So with that in mind, right, I would like to go to the next part of it, which is people ask me, oh, then where will the next potential property hotspot be? I would say for now, I will rather share another aspect. I would like to share on, like for example, the precinct with a long-term growth potential. Why do I say that? As per the survey just now that I've shared, a lot of these home buyers are looking at longer term investment, and that's why this time now I would like to share my angle. As we know, for property investment, which is mid to long term, some of the my research and reasoning, and together with the data of the consumer purchasing behavior, the market trends, and of course the master plan 2019, an example of a precinct that I believe may have a long-term growth potential. So I usually will also use this data to assist my clients, right, to have a better picture of the market, and for them to make a better judgment call for those that's looking for own stay or even mid to long-term investment. So usually, like what I mentioned, master plan, this is always one of the first thing that I will do to check, see whether there's any latest changes and updates with relation to the current market news and market sentiments. So based on just now the market sentiment survey, right, it is anticipated that there will potentially be more resale stocks in the central, okay, northeast and east region, as the demand favored by potential buyers are currently in this region. But in my opinion, it means that prices will likely have seen an increase or have already started increasing in this area. And when prices become higher than the investors' acceptance level, there's high chance for them to look at other regions which may potentially have a better capital upside, as the price may be less bullish at this moment. Thus, for this time around, I will see if there are opportunities in other areas. And for today, my focal point won't be in these three areas, but in the West region, and analyze to see if there are opportunities and potential in a certain location in this region before the rest of the public realize, so as to gain the first mover advantage. So to understand further, right, on which part of the West region to look at, we will need to understand the current West region highlights as of the Master Plan 2019. So in short, right, there are three main points of planning for the West region. Firstly is the experiencing the future of work, which highlights the Jurong Lake District and the Jurong Innovation District. Okay, and followed by living and playing amidst nature, This one they talk about Tengah Town and Dairy Farm. And retreating to a green and west and blue western oasis. This one is highlighting the green components and new connectivity running across the various green spaces across the entire West region. So in short, right, for West region, the team, it will be a place that they can live, work, and play in. So Jurong Lake District have all along been a place, right? They have been speculating with high potential growth, and significant up in price have actually already been seen before. And after the news of the cancellation of the HSR project, right, it did slightly dampen buyer sentiments in the area. So I will not be touching in this of this Jurong Lake district. This is not a place that I'll be looking at. Then if you talk about Tengah Town, okay, this one I think the past few months have been pretty hyped up. To talk about the new forest town, a car-free town with about 42,000 residential units to be built in the area, and the launch of the new BTO HDB neighborhood over there. So I will also not be touching into this Tengah Town because I believe there will be a bit more on the HDBs and stuff like that. So as we know, HDB is not really a form of investment. So I will be looking at this place, right? That is highlighted in the master plan West region highlight, but seem to be still under the radar currently, but actually mentioned twice in the region highlights, and that is actually dairy farm. So what is happening or going to happen in dairy farm? If you read the highlights, URA mentioned about integrating new developments with existing green area, incorporating this sensitive urban design features to ensure a human scale environment. So let's dig deeper to see what caused this specific location to be mentioned and see if we can find any real strong potential upside that is yet to be discovered by most people. So to understand even further, okay, we will need to look at URA's urban design element. So this term may be foreign to some people, and I happened to chance upon this term when I was doing research on the master plan on the URA website. So if you see over here this map, right, okay, the urban design element, those areas that is marked orange are called urban design areas. And you can see that the big bulk of it actually lies in the core central region, where the city center is. And while outside of the CCR area, the orange area is actually quite sparse and few. Like you see, West region as one, North region one, Northeast is. So it's not as much as the central region. But so what are really these urban design element and areas? So according to URA, right, the master plan is actually supported by special and detailed control plans. And these urban designs are actually guidelines to preserve and enhance the urban character of the different planning areas. So these guidelines will also help to ensure that the developments integrate well with their surrounding urban environment. And also, developments within this type of urban design areas, right, are subjected to more detailed urban design requirements, which shall take precedence over the standard development control parameters. Okay, so what this means, right, is that these are the areas that URA takes special attention to due to various reasons, which could be things like the heritage and historical value of the area, future unique usage for the public, or an area with a specific character that is not seen in the other parts of Singapore. So to have this type of areas outside CCR is actually quite rare. And this type of areas, I believe, that are zoned as urban design areas, will most probably be given the same important focus and will have a much more detailed planning done by the government, like those in the central core region. And so, where are some of these urban design areas that's outside the central core region, and are they really unique or special? So let's take a look at some examples of these urban design areas that is outside of the central region. Okay, as you can see northeast here, this northeast region, you have actually Punggol. This is where the future Punggol Digital District will be. If you read the news and stuff, I believe you will have read about this. Next, if you talk about this part near to the east, you will have actually this Paya Lebar area, which is the Paya Lebar quarters. So this is the place where we have the first grade A office outside of the CBD. And also in the west, we have the Jurong Lake district. Okay, this one is not surprising at all, that this is a urban design area, as it has been talked about for one of the longest period of time, And in fact, Beauty World Vicinity, right, is also such an area, and they are zoned as a urban design area. I guess this is also one of the reasons why you see the massive changes that are coming in that area, like what I have shared in the previous seminar. But do you know, actually, right, dairy farm is also such an urban design area. But how come it is not as prominent as the above mentioned areas? I believe one reason is that it could be a work in progress, in the earlier stage of planning. Thus, I predict that this area is somewhere that will really be changing and improving in the future. So, with that in mind, right, let's take a dive into the dairy farm area and see what is happening there. Okay, okay. So to understand dairy farm area, we must first know uh, where does dairy farm this area belongs to in the planning area. So it's actually situated in the Bukit Panjang planning area. So this area, right, is just next to the Bukit Timah planning area, where Beauty World, the facility is, and where the growth story was when I shared last year. And this is a very unique planning area, Bukit Panjang planning area, because it comprises of HDB estates, private residential estates, and the nature reserve, all in one planning area. And if you see over here, this is the sub-planning zone of Bukit Panjang planning area. Almost half of this planning area is zoned into the nature reserve sub-planning zone, followed by dairy farm sub-planning zone, and then the rest of the sub-planning zone of Senja, Sajana, Fajar, Bangkit, and Jelebu. So these few areas here are generally the more HDB heartland residential area. However, I actually really go and search in details, right? And I realized that dairy farm sub-planning zone is the only pure private residential area in the Bukit Panjang planning area. Meaning to say, in this sub-planning zone, right, there is not even one single HDB. They are all private residential, uh, landed and non-landed. And actually, if you see from this, right, this is the population of the area. You can see that actually, apart from the nature reserve, right, dairy farm have the least population. Okay, so what this means to say is also that this area is less congested, more relaxing, as it's just next to the nature reserve, and a place with a higher quality of life, healthy green living environment. I think this is becoming increasingly important, especially in this current global situation. You know, as like for example during breaker that time, you can go out for a jog. To jog along the road beside all the cars or near a nature reserve, which one gives you a better quality of life? So this may become a place that people start to consider after this whole pandemic. Also, with such a low density, right, in population, there is still a very big room for growth to increase population in this area. You see over here, dairy farm is only at about roughly 6,900 over, while the rest of these Bukit Timah planning areas location, their sub planning zone, are all in 20 over thousand to even 30,000 in terms of population. Okay, and over here, what you see over this one is actually the Google satellite map of dairy farm vicinity. So if you have been to this area, uh, most people's impression will be that this is a area that is quiet and green and much cooler as compared to other areas of Singapore due to the nature reserve just at the south of the location. However, at the same time, there are many that felt that it is currently not very convenient at all because there isn't any amenities for daily necessities such as supermarket, eateries that are just within walking distance of this location. But actually, in this next slide, right, I managed to extract some satellite images that ranges from year 2014 onwards. So you can see in 2014, dairy farm this sub planning zone, or I would say the dairy farm vicinity, is actually very forested. And from there to 2017, you can see that suddenly botak, all the trees are gone. A huge chunk of this forested area has been cleared for future development. And by the time 2019, you can see new developments coming up in the area. So with this in mind, let me just show you the master plan of the vicinity, and I will briefly explain different land usage in the area and what is currently there now. So this one that is highlighted in green, right? Okay, you can see here. This is the highlighted area in the urban design area. So this is what URA zone as a urban design area. Okay, and what you see here are the existing private developments. So you have Eco-Century, Treehouse, Forest, the Skywoods Dairy Farm, and the surrounding Hillview area. You have like Kingsford Hillview Peak, Hillview Park, all those, and a mixed development called the Helia. But that over here, right? You see this one that is zoned in E. This one stands for education. There's another plot over here, but right now this is a empty land still. But over here, this is where the German European school is. Okay, and if you see next to this plot, okay, there is another one, two, three, four, five, six, seven plots of government land sale site. All these lands are zoned as pure residential. Okay, plot ratio 1.4 means their highest level is 5 story. 2.1 is roughly about 15 stories. And over here, what I believe is that in the future, there will be another 6 more plots coming. Why do I say 6 more plots? This plot over here that I put number one, there is, if you drive past this area, you see they actually have put a sign, government land sale site under the reserve list. So this one can be triggered for sale this year. And actually also next to the German European School, you see this plot that's different from others. This one, this color, what it meant is actually is zoned for residential with commercial component on the ground level. And this is the only mixed use development in the entire dairy farm estate. And it's actually a new launch that is currently ongoing called Dairy Farm Residence. Okay. And actually, this mixed use development, I've checked through the URA GIS technical details, right? It mentioned that this development, once completed, will include a roughly 10,000 square feet supermarket, okay, a 5,000 square feet food court, and a 5,000 square feet childcare, okay, and that is on top of the various other different retail outlets on the B1 and first level of the development, which are accessible to the public. And also, this all these commercial spaces, right, is supposed to be held under a single strata lodge, which means to say that it will not be like it will be most probably be managed by the developer, and will not be sold in those style like those strata mixed mall, like for example King Albert Park, Novena Regency, all those. Okay, just to name a few. So this condition is a bit more unique, a bit more particular. So what it also means is that you are a want to make sure that this plot over here, right, will be able to supply the amenities to this entire area. And thus, with this ready, the next 7 plots, once they are available for sale and completed, they will get their amenities right at these dairy farm residences. And with based on this planning also, right, I foresee that the value of this vicinity will most probably appreciate at a potentially faster pace than the other OCR location in Singapore, due to the improved amenities right in the heart of dairy farm with this potential future landmark or iconic development, with where all the amenities are just within a stone throw away in the future. Okay. So let me see. So what have I would, with this in mind, right, I believe a lot of people will also think, hey, so what have been happening in this area during the past decade? And why do I say, where's my reasoning on the basis that this area will most probably will have a higher chance for price appreciation? To understand that, right, we will need to take a look at the past government land sale site in this area. Okay, so these projects over here that I highlighted, right, in all these, these are actually previous government land sale site. So in dairy farm area, right, majority of the developments are all 99-year leasehold because government land sale sites, they are all, most of the time 99 years leasehold. There's only one freehold development in the area, and that is a dairy farm. This is 32 years old already. So in dairy farm to Hillview area, right, on the GLS side, if you realize, are pure residential development, except for the Helia in Hillview area and dairy farm residents in dairy farm area. And what you see over here, you can see the timeline of the GLS site that are sold during the past 12 years. And the trend, right, is generally moving upwards. Okay. Those that is in black are the GIS site in the dairy farm area, and those in blue are the Hillview area. And what I have did over here is I have segregated the GIS site to dairy farm vicinity over here and the Hillview vicinity over here. And you can see the green one will be the mixed development, meaning to say upstairs is residential, downstairs is commercial. Okay, then the black one will all be pure residential. If you realize, right, from 2009 to 2012, okay, the government land sales winning bid for dairy farm vicinity, the GRS site price is rather bullish and is increasing year on year. And in 4 years, right, the winning land bid cost increased by an approximately 120%, from 2000 within 4 years. But at the same time, right, government land sales site in Hillview is only released in 2011, okay, for the mixed development called the Helia. And after that, the next site that was sold the year after, which is the current Kingsford Hillview Peak, you see a dip in this winning bid, a drop of about 5.2%. Okay, one of these reasons I believe is because usually, right, mixed development sites are rare, you know, and they are usually contested with much higher bids by developer, as developer will hope to win this type of land. But on an interesting note, if you base on government land sale sites on the same year, let's say 2011, this is the year that both location have a government land sale site. You can see that the Helios land cost, right, is nearly 58% higher than Eco Century. Yeah? But in 2012, right, these two areas again released two GRS sites, but their price difference is merely a 3.5% difference. So from 2011, to 2012, I conclude that based on my own personal understanding, that Hillview vicinity may have a slight premium due to Hillview being a more mature estate as compared to Dairy Farm, which is at that point of time really have nothing. You know, but the thing is, a mixed development, right, typically have a stronger premium bid price based on developer sentiments during the same period of time, meaning to say during the same year. Huh? So the premium in this case is this 58%. Okay. And also from 2012 onwards, right, you realize that both location do not have any more GIS site for sale until 2018. Again, these two areas released two sites again. But this time around, you can see that the percentage price increment of land cost for Hillview, okay, meaning to say from the previous land to this new winning bid, the price increment is 67.4%, while dairy farm area, right, increased by 34.74% only. So it is nearly double. Midwood, which is where this GRS site, the project of this GRS site, the land cost is actually higher than a mixed development. So why is that so? Just now I have mentioned mixed development usually should have a price premium in terms of a winning bid. Okay, I believe there's two reasons. Firstly, Midwood, right, is just next to Helia, the mixed development in Hillview area. And with the amenities which is already ready, it gives developer actually confidence in putting in a higher bid, as there have not been any GRS site for sale in that particular area for the past 6 years. Secondly, and I believe this is one of the more important reasons that all consumers should know, is that I believe the reason why this time around a mixed development plot, right, that should be bidded with a price premium was sold at a lower price is due to the new cooling measure announced around roughly around July 6th of 2018, which is actually 3 days after the winning tender of the current Midwood. So with this cooling measure, right, it caused developers to tender a more cautious and less bullish bid for dairy farm GIS site. That's why you see these two plot of land, right? Not only does dairy farm do not have a premium, in fact, it is lesser, cheaper by 29%. Okay. To me, right, this is actually also an indicative of a good sign as it gives buyers right opportunity to have a better affordability price range and also a higher chance of capital gain for, like, for example, for a project of like dairy farm residents. So why do I say that? Firstly, the higher the winning bid, it will usually translate to a higher price that is sold to consumers. In Chinese, there's a word 羊毛出在羊身上, So also, typically, mixed use development are sold at a premium due to the higher land cost and construction cost. But as you can see here, right, the land cost of dairy farm residence is lower than the other new launch. This also means to say, if you are looking to have a lesser capital payout, and we want to prefer a new launch over resale due to a progressive payment method, buying a unit at dairy farm residence, which is a mixed development, right, give you a chance to buy this brand new mixed development without the premium price tag as we commonly know that have for this type of mixed development. So this type of chance is actually indeed really few and rare, and it is just nice because of this cooling measure. Developer are less bullish, and we can potentially get at a lower price. Okay, next, apart from the winning bid, right? What I will usually do is take a look at the bid price of the top three bidder. So what is the price difference? And over here, I will give you a few example. From the bid price, right? Based on my personal opinion, it actually give me this personal gauge whether this particular government land sale site, is the winning bid too overpriced. You know. So how I see it is, I will take example of the top three bid. So this government land sale site that you see is actually Watertown. So Watertown is in Punggol. It's a mixed development. And as you can see, right, the top three bid difference is 29.9%. And this one, in my own opinion, it means that the purchase price for consumer will effectively, right, be higher due to the higher land cost. So if this developer have not bidded, this one would have been the winning bid. So the winning bid become lower in cost, which will usually translate to a lower selling price. And you can see because of this 29.9% price gap, right? Throughout the past, from 2012 until now, you see that Watertown did increase, but at a 9.72% theoretical price increment, which is quite modest for a mixed development. Because imagine if the winning bid is 29% lower. Let's just cut it into half. Our developer earn more profit. We managed to buy this development at maybe 15% lower in price. Over here in 2021, right? This price point is what homeowners or buyers is willing to buy for this development. If my buying price have been lower, let's say like by 15%, does that mean to say that my potential capital gain could have been 15 plus 9.72%? That's the thing that we need to think about. Okay, let me show you another example. This one is another mixed development. This is at this Potong Pasir, the Poise residence. Let's take a look again at the top three bid. This time now, the top three bid, the price difference, right, is 3.3% only. And based on launch date price till date, the theoretical price increment per square feet have increased by 22.15%. This is very important because the thing is, like what I mentioned, top three bidder with such a close price tender gap, it means to say all these developer believe, right, that this area can command such a price. You know, so unlike what you see over here, where the other two aspect or feels that the price of this area is not justifiable for this type of bullish price, but with one bullish bidder, what will happen is the consumer end up buying at a higher price. Okay, so if this is not, enough, let me just show you another one. Atra. Okay, Atra is in Red Hill, that area. So it is also a mixed development, residential with commercial at first floor. Okay, again, you see the top three bid price difference is 3%, meaning to say the consensus for most developer is this plot of land is worth this amount. And again, you can see during the past 4 years, from launch day till today, the increment have been 20.64%. You know, so what to me it means to say also that with a more cautious developer bid, if I know this right, I will know which developer is too bullish, which one is less bullish. But of course, this is not the only factor affecting buyers' potential capital gain. Apart from the bidding price, right, which will lessen the chance of a much higher entry price, the future supply in the area also plays a part. Okay, what do I mean by that? This time I will take again Atra, okay, the location of Atra. You can see in this area where Atra is, right, Atra is number 7, the seventh plot of land to be sold. You can see that since 2006, the government land sales have been pretty consistent, and in 10 years, right, 2005 to 2015, these 10 years, you see that there is 7 plots of government land sale site being launched in this area of Red Hill area. And you can see that the price have increased since 2006 to 2021 by 136%. So what this show is, apart from having a safer entry price by understanding the developer's winning bid, right? The future supply of new launches, meaning to say new GIS site or on block sites, will directly affect the price of the vicinity also. Because usually government land sale site, the winning bid, like what you see in dairy farm area, every year is increasing. Likewise, over here also every year is increasing, and that is why you see there's always a new price in the area, and it will help to spike and push up the price of this surrounding area. If you don't believe me, let me show you another example. This is two projects that are side by side, and you can see that the bidding price difference for the top three bid for Greenwich, which is a mixed development, is very bullish, 48.6%, while the other is just 6.2%. And since 2010, which is the launch of Greenwich, to 2012, which is the launch of Seletar Park Residence, the price increased for the initial few years before it start declining. And also, if you see, because of this higher bid, somehow or rather, it seems that the drop in price is also of a higher percentage as compared to Seletar Park Residence. But what caused this dip in price? Okay, you will need to see the location where these two projects are situated. Okay, over here, number 1 is actually where Greenwich is, and number 2 is Seletar Park Residence. So in 2009, GIS site for Greenwich, 2010, GIS site for Seletar Park Residence. But since then, right, the other plot that's within the vicinity that was launched was actually Topiary, which is an EC. And as we all know, EC price are usually lower than private residential properties. And since 2012, right, it has been 9 years without new condo supply in the area. And it seems to affect the potential growth of these two development also, because there is no new GIS site to push the surrounding price up further. And that's why you see overall price decline for these two projects on average is 5.42. So from the last 4 slides, what you can see is the impact of having more new supply being injected in the area. So from the above example and case study, right, let's take a look back at dairy farm, this current new launch, to gauge whether the surrounding area and this new launch site, right, does they have any potential growth. Okay, as you can see, the top three bids, right, are just less than 3.4% difference from each other, meaning to say no developer put in an overly bullish bid, and this may translate to the entry price for the development potentially having more room for growth and higher acceptance rate, like what I mentioned for the case of Watertown. Furthermore, right, with another 7 plots of potential GLS site in the area, the push factor for growth is very positive based on the example that I've shown you all. So to me, it also means that there's a higher chance for capital appreciation. And with that, let's take a look at the current sales trend in dairy farm vicinity. No? If you're considering after what I've mentioned so far, that hey, this is a place that maybe can invest in or buy for own stay. This is one other things that you need to see. What is the current sale trend? Okay, as you can see over here, right, the overall price trend of Singapore private residential property, which is the one in orange, right, um, has increased throughout the past 10 years by 39.43%, while dairy farm vicinity have just increased by 23.16. So what this means is to say that the price growth of dairy farm this vicinity, right, is currently below the national average, uh, underperforming. And for reference and example purpose, if I take a look at property price trend since 2014 for Beauty World vicinity versus dairy farm vicinity versus the overall Singapore average, you can see that Singapore overall price growth increased by 23.67%, while Beauty World area, right, increased by 53.74%, which is well above the national average. And it was especially so in 2018. 2017 it was still up down a bit, but by 2018 it really picked up and maintained above the national average. Okay, one of these is due to the increase in new launches in the area, plus the news of the transformation of Beauty World area in the draft master plan in 2018 and the master plan in 2019. And if you look at dairy farm vicinity, right, this area have yet to see such price growth. And thus, I believe there are very significant room for growth based on the urban design area, the 7 land plots, all those things. So right now, you are at a location that I believe, right, based on what I've seen so far, a place that is of a safer bet. Okay, so if you really look into dairy farm vicinity, say, hey, maybe I should buy either a resale or a new launch in this area, I will recommend you to see some of this data that I have consolidated for you all. Firstly, we have actually already understand the buying power of consumer during these current times, which is from the earlier slide that I shared based on the survey, which I mentioned the sweet spot for these purchases, right? The affordability rate is roughly between 1 to 2 million, depending on unit type, whether it's 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, or 4 bedroom. Thus, with that in mind, right, we need to dissect further, to see if what I mentioned hold any truth, and understand in further details what are the price range for the different unit types, because 1 million to 2 million is really a very big range. It can be a 2 or 3 or 4 bedroom. So firstly, let's take a look at the 2 bedroom transaction in the OCR area in the last 6 months. Okay, so over here, right, what you see is the number of transaction in the OCR area from October 2020 to March this, which is right now. Okay, and this is the average purchase price overall. So what do I mean by overall? It means to say the primary market and the secondary market, new launch plus resale, the overall average price that is transacted in the OCR. The other one that you see, primary market, this one is talking about the average purchase price for a new launch. Okay, with this, right, what you can see is that generally people is paying on average 1 million to 1.1 million to even slightly 1.2 million for a resale. And for new launches, you know, brand new, all those things, people is willing to pay up to 1.227 on average. So with this average price in mind, right? My own personal recommendation lah is that for a two-bedroom, if you're looking be it for own stay or investment, without being paying a premium or being overpriced, will be in the recommendation range of around 900 plus K to about 1.28 million. Okay. And you can see why do I say that? Because actually for this past 6 months, right, the highest transacted price for a two-bedroom in OCR is 1.958. Okay, when I first saw this data, I was a bit, wow, two-bedroom 1.9 plus. But it's true, and it is a new launch in the East, okay? And the lowest is 618K. For three-bedroom wise, if you take a look at the average purchase price, you are looking at between 1.3 to 1.5 region for the overall average price. And for the primary market, for brand new, people is willing to pay even higher, up to about on average 1.678. And the highest transacted during these past 6 months for a three-bedroom in the OCR is at 2.63 million. Wow, but the cheapest, right, 575K. So well, this one is very interesting, but it also there's a few factors. It could be a workout apartment because my data includes all private residential, excluding EC. Huh? So it maybe could be a 1980s 99-year leasehold three-bedroom, or maybe the size also, because you know sometimes three-bedroom size can be as small as the smaller I seen about 700 square feet. Huh? And with this price in mind, right, my personal recommendation for a comfortable price range to consider will be slightly wider range, 1.3 to 1.7 million. Why is that so? Because for three-bedroom, they got usually have the more compact type, maybe 700 plus square feet, like I mentioned, all the way to 1,200 square feet if you are looking at something for comfort. So that's why I'm recommending for three-bedroom. If you want to buy something and you are worried about paying overpriced, I would say in the OCR region, if you are looking at between 1.3 to 1.7 million odd, should be the current market acceptance level, and there's still room for growth. And lastly, if we talk about four-bedroom, okay, you can see people is willing to pay 1.8 to 2 over million for resale, and up to even 2.3 million on average for the primary market. Okay, now I mentioned average. How do we get average? The high and the low. So the highest right now we see for four-bedroom transacted in OCR is at 3.7 million, while the lowest is 1 million. Thus, with that in mind, right, for four-bedroom, I would say the comfortable price range that people is willing to afford and pay at this current market is roughly between 1.7 to 2.4 million. So I believe this. I hope that this one will be helpful for you, especially for consumers that's watching right now. That are looking at private residential property, be it new launch or resale in the area or even in the overall OCR, to have a rough gauge whether there is more or less capital upside. Okay. Next, this is the last part already. I would like to run on the rental trends. Why do I talk about rental trends? If you are buying a property for investment, you know, rental is part of that investment, because while you're holding this property, to maximize your gain, we will usually rent out the property. Okay, but with that in mind, right, before understanding the rental trends in the dairy farm vicinity, we will need to understand the current macro view and situation of the private residential rental market in Singapore. And as you can see here from this article from Property Guru with info extracted from Business Time, right, Singapore private residential vacancy rates actually is forecasted, right, to rise by 8 to 9% for the entire year. So what this means is to say that for every 1,000 apartment, we will be expecting 80 to 90 apartments to stay vacant for a prolonged period of time. So our rental market is actually affected directly by the COVID-19 pandemic, because lesser aspects coming in, more aspects going out. And how does it affect a property investor looking to invest in real estate right now? Okay, as we know, right, there are two different market segments in the private residential property, namely the resale, which is the secondary market, and the primary market, which are the new launches or building under construction. So how does this current situation affect these two markets? Okay, as we know, some people say, hey, when I buy for investment, I want to buy resale. One of the thing that I can get for resale is immediate rental income. Okay, but for building under construction, there is no rental income. Okay, because it's still building, mah. Huh? However, right, bear in mind with the current market, whereby we are looking at a weakened rental market, the impact of the current rental market condition, right, will directly affect your rentability. So you could have a resale, but maybe the tenant lease going to end soon. And if you sway is the 80 to 90 of these units that is going to be vacant for a prolonged period of time, you won't be receiving any income, but you are still paying maintenance fee. you know so this is one thing that you need to consider, right? If you're looking at a resale, the area, you need to find an area that is with higher rental demand, because usually demand is pretty loop-sided. There will be some location that will be more easy to rent out, some location that is harder to rent out. But for building under construction, right, the beauty of it will be that there is this waiting time for rental market to recover post-pandemic. Why do I say that? As we know, right now, COVID-19 situation, it will not end just tomorrow. It could take another year or so, depending on how well the vaccination go. And expats may not be coming in so fast. Could be another year or so before things start to get back to so-called a new normal. So with a building under construction, which usually takes maybe 2-3 years or even 4 years to build, you have this waiting time for the rental market to recover. And the thing is, for resale, your mortgage repayment is already at the full loan. So if you do not have this rental income, right, you'll be looking at a far higher financial burden. While for building under construction, because the mortgage repayment is based on progressive payment, developer build until where, then the loan is dispersed until where. Thus, you'll be looking at a much lower financial burden. Huh? So right now, with all this macro talk, let's go into this D23 or dairy farm area to see whether this area, be it for a resale or a new launch, does this area rent out easily. Huh? So usually most relocation agents or even the tenants, they will go to property portals such as Property Guru, which is one of the leading online property search portal, to search for units for rent. And you can see over here in the whole of District 23, there is, based on today, there is 141 listing for lease for condo and apartments, but notwithstanding duplicate, because some unit maybe got 2 to 3 agents marketing. Also, some may be room renters. However, let's now focus back again on dairy farm facility. As mentioned before just now, there's already 4 condos here, which is Skywoods, Eco Century, Tree House, and Forest. Okay, so from here, I have actually did a screen grab from Guru by searching on each specific development. Okay, so over here, what you see, this was what I did, what I searched on February 28th. Okay, Skywoods, they have 420 units. Okay, but only 1 unit for rent, a 2 bedroom. Okay, asking 2008. If you look at Forest Residence, again 496 unit, also 400 plus unit, also only 1 unit for rent. If you look at Eco Century, 483 units. Again, when I search, there's 5 units for rent, out of which 2 are room rental. That's why $620. Huh? Okay. And for Tree House, right, 429 unit, the oldest of the 4 development here, there's also only 1 unit for rent. Okay. I did an update this time around on March 4th, which is 5 days later, to track the unit for rent. This time around, Skywood's last unit is delisted, which most probably means that it has been rented out. Okay, no more unit for rent. For the entire 400 over units, there's no unit for rent. For Forest Residents, it increased by 1 unit, and that unit, right, is only available from June onwards. And then there's an increase of one room rental listing. Eco Century from 5 units right now left 4 units with one room rental. And Tree House, again, sorry, we couldn't find any result. There is no unit for rent in Tree House. 4 days, rented out, rented out. Then you ask me, today, today I did it one more time. I find and refresh the search. Still, as of today, right, this update, Skywood still have no units for rent. Forest increased by one more unit, and I checked the availability will only be from July, which is 4 months later. Now already start advertising already. And all of this the room rental. Eco Century. Okay, Eco Century just now I thought there was like what? Let me see again. 4 units, right? Now 1 unit left for rent. Okay, 1 unit. And again, Tree House, I couldn't find any listing. So from here, right, you can see that the demand in rental in dairy farm vicinity is actually pretty strong. And what makes me notice this area in the first place is due to my own experience when I was serving a tenant looking at a 2 or 3 bedroom in dairy farm. They were very specific. They only want this dairy farm area. Huh? One of the reasons is because the kids study in German European school. Okay, so I brought them around for 1 month plus 2 months, and they can actually move in within 2 weeks because the previous unit that they have is being sold and they are request to move out early. So after some negotiation, blah blah blah, they are willing to do it. However, after 1 month plus of search, we only managed to see 5 units in the end. And the first unit that we shortlist was being outbidded by another tenant. So we went to the second choice. Again, bidding contest. Until we have no choice because there wasn't any unit left that is suitable for us due to the availability when we can start the list. So in the end, we have to close at the asking price without negotiation on the price. And furthermore, even though I'm ready to move in 2 weeks' time, we waited for another month or so. You know, we 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 in the end we only start list only in mid of October. Thus, I tell you, this landlord that rented the house to my this tenant, he should be very happy because he have a back-to-back list in the middle of a COVID-19 pandemic. You know, with only just 2 days for them to do some rectification works. So from there, I realized that this area actually have a very strong potential. Okay, and from here you can see right whether after knowing the demand, did the price go up or not? Because when we talk about supply and demand, so the orange line that you see over here is the overall 10 years average PSF for Singapore rental. And you can see the overall rental market actually dropped by 13.41% based on per square feet basis. And even in D23, okay, overall price dropped by 4.18%. However, right, dairy farm vicinity during this period of time increased by 8.35%. So what I've mentioned, I think also makes sense and is proven over here. Low supply, high demand, uptrend in price. So why is there such a strong demand? Okay, what you see right here is a expat living website which provide a guide to where to live in Singapore. So sometimes expat that's coming to Singapore, they'll Google and look at this expat living to see what is the recommendation, as they may not be very clear or very familiar with Singapore. And as you see over here, they mention that an increase in expat population in Hillview Dairy Farm this area, and they states that it could be due to better MRT access. However, right, there is one more thing that happened in dairy farm this area particularly, and that is the relocation of the German European School Singapore to Dairy Farm Lane in August 2018. Okay, so German European School, right, GESS, they currently have roughly about 1,800 learners or students and 250 educators. So there will be a majority of for the learners, definitely I would say maybe 90 over percent of them will be expats or foreigner. And with that, educators, potentially there are a lot more that is also foreigners, so looking for place to rent. And does this really impact the rental price and transaction of dairy farm, like what I mentioned? Let's take a look at the data on the next slide. Okay, like I mentioned just now earlier, dairy farm vicinity average rental price saw an increment of 8.35% since 2012. But from 2017 to 2020, the rental increment is actually more significant at 5.48% uptick in average rental price. And rental volume increased, you know, due to the completion of Skywoods and Ecocentric in the 2016-17 period, followed by the relocation of German European School in 2018. Okay, just something for your knowledge, because I also do relocation service previously. So usually expats parents, especially those that's coming into Singapore, when they will be placing their kids to international school. Usually they will know prior around 1 year or so beforehand where the school may be relocated to, like for this the example here, GESS, so that my tenants or the expats, they will be able to do the necessary arrangement, like in terms of accommodation, and they will usually rent in the area near to the future school area first, so that it will be convenient in the future, because they do not need to go and find another property again. Usually this type of family based expats, they will prefer to stay in a particular area for a longer period of time because of the kids, so lesser hassle to move, huh? Less moving. And furthermore, this type of aspects, right, that bring the whole family over usually holds higher position in the company, and will usually have better income, and is needed in Singapore longer than the lower tier executive. So this is a very good consideration, because every time you need to find a new tenant, there will always be a opportunity cost loss, because there will be this period of time that potentially be vacant. Okay, and also if you see this transaction volume, right, it have been increasing, and in 2020, this is the year of the global pandemic. You can see that dairy farm this location, okay, the transaction volume is not affected by it at all. In fact, it went up. Huh? Okay. So from here, we can have a better idea of how this effect of GESS relocation have on dairy farm this area. And to me, it's a very positive effect. Okay. So in summary, yeah, we've come to almost the end already. Okay. I previously mentioned during my previous seminar on potential property hotspot that there you need to see a certain criteria for an area to see appreciation in value. So let's now take this that I did in a previous seminar to dairy farm right now, and see if all these criteria, right, also tick boxes or not. Firstly, I mentioned about this condition whereby it have to be highlighted in the master plan region highlights, because once it's highlighted, usually there'll be better growth. People will realize it more. Things are improved faster, and usually that relates to better price. Yep, we saw that dairy farm this area was already being highlighted in the region highlights. Next, I also talk about changes in the pipeline, and also other factors such as connectivity improvement. And the other thing that is not mentioned here is this urban design element, which actually is where dairy farm is. Huh? Also, new amenities in the area. So with dairy farm residents, that is to be completed in early 2024, you'll be looking at a place with suddenly very improved amenities. 10,000 square feet of supermarket space. You're looking at a rather mega supermarket with a lot more convenience. You know, and also when we talk about new recreational space, we understand from the master plan region highlight, West region highlight, about the green connectivity of the different green spaces. Okay, and enhancement in public transport, right? Actually, in 2017, I think if you all drive, you all may not know. LTA actually introduced a new bus service, which is 973, to enhance connectivity between Petir Road, Dairy Farm, Hillview, Hume Avenue to the nearby Hillview MRT. So there is already have been enhancement in public transport connectivity also. And lastly, which I believe is also more important, one of the most important thing is Apple new residential development, because over here we are seeing a potentially 7 more potential government land use site for this area in the future. So I guess in a way, um, based on what I've shared for the past wow, 45 minutes to nearly an hour, there is a lot of positive things that if you have not dig into it, you will not have realized. Huh? And I hope that with that, I have come to the end of my sharing. So I hope that you all have some takeaway from it. And thank you for spending the past 1 hour or so with me uh, during this consumer seminar. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Elvin, for the time, taking this time off to share with us this interesting and very educational topic. We hope that all of you who have been tuning in this evening will have some key takeaways from this exclusive webinar. And because we want you to keep your options open, and also to emphasize that dairy farm is going to be the next hotspot to reach out to due to its growth potential and uniqueness. So again, thank you everyone for tuning in. We hope that after this session, you can arrange with any of our Orange Tea agents and make an appointment with us to view the Farm Residences Sales Gallery. So with this, we will end the session here, and take care and stay safe, everyone.